April 25th, 2019. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 179 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Well, welcome back from Gamblepalooza.
Yeah, it was
Mike.
a good trip.
It was a very good trip. Not a profitable one.
No, but I enjoyed myself
I did
a lot.
too. You know, if Atlantic City were closer, we would go there all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we've only been twice, but we enjoyed it both times.
I liked it. It's smaller than Vegas, but bigger than our area here.
Right, yes. If we need to go to another casino in Atlantic City, it's not that far.
It's not that far. We can walk.
That's right. Well, let's talk about the trip. We had no problem on our flight there. In fact, we got a limo ride to pick us up from Philadelphia Airport to take us to Atlantic City, where we were staying at Caesars. It was a good ride. It takes about an hour to go.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you and I
It
were...
goes by fast, though.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not a bad ride.
You and I were talking, and every once in a while I'd look over, and there was like this third person in the car.
It was
In
weird.
the limo. It was weird.
It was like the ghost of, Gamblepalooza past.
Yeah, I know. And then you and I would talk again some more. And by the time the limo driver dropped us off at Caesars, it was just the two of us in the car. There wasn't anybody else there.
Yeah.
So
strange.
That was strange. Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to think back on that a little bit because I'm generally a pretty rational person. I just can't figure it out.
You were tired.
Yeah, that's
you were
true.
tired.
Yeah, I was a little tired. Yeah. So not much that first night, but the first official meeting for Gamblepalooza was at the Mountain Bar at Wild Wild West, where Travel Zork, Michael Traeger, was sponsoring a cocktail hour.
Which was very nice. Yeah, thank you, Michael.
That was great. And we got to see everybody there and socialize for a little bit. Got a nice picture there. So that was...
Had a hard time getting the picture.
That's right. They tried to prevent it. No pictures
the
here.
The security guard didn't want a picture of the bar.
Yeah.
Because with that kind of information, who knows what can happen.
It wasn't pointing at the casino area at all.
It wasn't anywhere near the casino.
Oh my gosh. It's 2019. Everybody has a phone. Let's get over it.
Yeah, right. It's scary.
But that was a good kind of an opener. And we then walked over to Bally's, where we basically spontaneously took over a craps table.
Well, I think it was empty, right?
It was just opening.
Oh, right.
And so we ran over there and let's do it.
Yeah.
And that worked out great. I was standing right next to Tim Lawson, and we were talking about how it was such a great atmosphere. We were losing.
Right.
It wasn't like, immediate 7 out every shooter, but we were slowly losing, but we were having such a good time.
Yeah. Right? I actually won on that table.
Well, you know why you won is because Vinny from the 7 Out podcast eventually got the dice.
Right.
Right. And that turned us around for everybody.
He had a big role. Yeah. Especially for me.
Yeah. So, ultimately, I think I lost a little bit. But, that was, I think, one of the highlights of the trip. And it wasn't planned. It was just, group gaming, but we just happened to take over this table, and that worked out really well.
And you know what I was thinking is, it'd be nice if there was a craps table that seated like 30 people.
I know.
Because that's what we need. It's always like one guy was going to buddy up with me, and then a spot came open, he took his own spot. His name was Michael.
Yeah.
But it's always one of those things where there's just not enough room.
Well, and the thing that really got to us on this one, too, was the pit boss insisted only 6 players on each side of the table.
Right.
And Vito came up and he was saying, well, you've got 7 spots for the fire bet.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying too. I was like, but there's 7 fire spots. I know it was a small table, but there are 7 fire spots. So if you got 7 fire spots, I assume you expect 7 people to play on each side.
Yeah, but I guess not. That was a little bit too much. And we certainly would have, accommodated 7 on each side.
I would have just said, we obviously all knew each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
So he should have just said, well, just turn sideways, don't take up a lot of room, right? I played plenty of times side saddle.
Yeah. And I didn't know this, Mike, until I listened to the latest episode of 7 Out Podcast. I guess Vinny, he was okay then, but the rest of the weekend, he was like deathly ill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was struggling to stay at the table and like running to the restroom.
Oh, gosh.
And we never knew. I know that it seemed like he left early. I thought he was going to go play some poker on Monday, but he had left. I don't know if that has something to do with it. Apparently, he was really sick.
He had the best shirt of anybody I've ever seen.
It was Joe who wasn't there?
Joe wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it looked like John Belushi, really, kind of that cigar in his hand.
Yeah, so it's Joe, Vinny's co-host on the 7 Out podcast for those.
Was on his shirt.
Yeah. That's right, yeah, because Joe couldn't make it.
I wish you had the balls to wear my picture on your shirt.
I kind of wish I do too, but I'm glad I don't.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. No. And then later on that evening, we all met at Ocean, kind of in the sports book area there. Eric Rosenthal had put together a wonderful list of specials that a lot of these online sports books had, deposit matches and, things like that. It had a huge list there.
Right.
And so people were able to take advantage of that. And then we were supposed to have a dinner at Dolce Mar there at Ocean. If you remember, at first it was going to be a big dinner. Everybody would get together. And there were so many people initially that we were going to have a prefix menu. Right. And then that got to be too expensive. So that got pared down to just having appetizers at the bar. Well, we go down to Dolce Mar, and the bar area is just really small.
Yeah.
There's just, I don't know how many of us went down there, maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah, it probably couldn't have seated more than that.
Yeah. So we said, well, okay, forget Dolce Mar. We walked across to American Cut, and they did have a bigger bar area. But at that point, I was kind of pushing for, hey, I just need something to eat. I don't even need to really sit down anywhere fancy or anything.
Right.
And there's not enough room at the bar for all of us.
I will say, though, we got some drinks, a few of us. Did you have a drink?
I did not.
But you did not. I got a margarita. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the best margaritas I've ever had.
Well, good.
And it was in Atlantic City, not San Diego.
Right.
I mean, it was smooth.
Good. That's
it was
nice.
Good. Yeah.
Well, keeping with the Mexican theme there, I guess, Bethany actually suggested that we just all go up to Distrito, which is kind of like a taco truck,
right,
that they have there at Ocean, and just order from there. That was perfect. That is our speed.
Yeah. That's right up our alley, actually.
Go into a taco truck. Yeah. And it's funny because Bethany later tweeted that was her highlight of the whole trip.
Well, it was fun.
It was fun, right? Because we all sat at this big bench, and we're just eating, all this Mexican food.
Tacos.
Right?
Having drinks.
And then afterwards, you offered to buy everybody ice cream. Right by the truck there is the Sweetie Pie Creamery where they had ice cream.
Right.
So you bought everybody ice cream.
Yeah, and that was good, too.
That was good, just socializing and having a lot of fun.
Yeah, see, that's our speed.
Yes.
Fancy dinner is nice every once in a while, but it's not really our speed.
No, ordering from a truck.
Yeah,
that's more our speed.
That's more our speed.
Yes, exactly.
And then, you know what? We're comfortable when we get to the truck. We know where we're at.
That's right.
I'm at a fancy thing and I'm thinking, okay, what fork do I use? I don't want to look like an idiot.
What do I do? Do we all pitch in? How do we pay the bill? And
do I get Mark a Rose?
Well, we haven't really talked about the gambling up till this point, but the gambling was going pretty well. We had played mostly craps. That night, you played mostly craps at the table. I went and played Pai Gow poker with a bunch of people.
Right.
And, at the end of that night, it was great.
I went to bed ahead. Yeah, I was very happy on that was Saturday night.
That was Saturday night. We weren't going to be happy the rest of the trip as far as gambling goes.
Until Sunday evening. Sunday morning and afternoon were okay. It was the Sunday evening when things turned.
Oh, yeah, that's
gambling-wise.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. The next morning, we woke up and we headed down to Resorts where there was a planned brunch buffet at Capriccio. And that brunch was outstanding, don't you think, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a very, very good brunch. Mm-hmm. Yes. Uh-huh.
A lot of breakfast items and...
Oh, it was probably the best brunch I've ever had, too. Once again, I mean, up to that point, I was like flying high. They had perfect cantaloupe.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, I was talking about the
I'm not a cantaloupe guy, so I
love cantaloupe, but sometimes you get in a restaurant, it's either too hard or it's too mushy. Mm-hmm. It was perfect. It was the perfect cantaloupe.
I ate a bunch of that maple infused bacon or whatever they do.
That was good too.
That was really good. And then I had a big creme brulee for dessert. It was huge.
Yes.
I ate the whole thing.
And jalapeno cheddar cheese, or jack cheese, jalapeno jack cheese.
That's right. You love that jack.
Yeah, I had that for dessert.
Yeah.
I love jalapeno cheese.
That was a great meal. What was it? It was about $60-some a person for that. And thanks again to Dave who paid for our breakfast that morning. Thanks again very much for that.
Thank you very much, Dave. Well, I'll tell you what, that brunch was way, way better than the buffet at Caesars Las Vegas, right?
I agree.
And it's the same price. It's about the same price.
Right, and it was better than the one we had at Cosmo. Remember?
Yeah, it was
at
better
the
than the one at
360 event?
Cosmo.
Yep,
Yeah,
I agree.
The food was fresh. There was a wide variety. I mean,
great presentation.
And there was tons of seafood and stuff. I was surprised because that's expensive.
Yes, that was definitely a highlight. Yeah, for sure. Well, right after the brunch, it was time for the high limit slot pull. Again, where each participant put in $100 for this slot pull. And this worked out great. The idea behind the slot pull, and this was the same as last year too, was we either play until we double our money or we're out of money. Right. And so like last year, we played at a one coin $100 Wheel of Fortune machine.
Right? Yep.
And I don't remember how many participants there were, like between 20 and 30, something like maybe more than 30.
Yeah.
But anyway, we each kind of took turns spinning, and it really was not going very well.
No.
Maybe we'd get, $200. A cherry would come up.
Yeah.
So we're slowly running out of money. We're thinking, well, this is how it goes. And then Shannon comes up to do a spin. And finally, we get a Wheel of Fortune spin.
Yes.
Right. And so everybody's all excited. So it spins around and it lands on $4,000.
Which was nice because I think the lowest was like $2,000.
Oh, okay, good. So we didn't get the absolute lowest.
Yeah, so we didn't get the lowest.
So I think I was the one who yelled out, "Let's take it, let's cash out." Even though we hadn't technically doubled our money.
Right.
I kind of saw how long.
You yelled cash out, and I said, "Go for it."
Well, that's typical, isn't it? Right. I was not just thinking, "Oh, let's come back with a profit," but I'm thinking this is taking a while.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I know that Resorts has a reserved craps and blackjack table for us, and we're going to have to. This is a hand pay.
Right.
So we're going to have to wait for all of that anyway. Right. So luckily, everybody agreed. Apparently, not you, but everybody else agreed. All right, let's take it. And so we ended up, everybody who had a $100 share in the slot pull won $30.
Right.
So he cashed out for $130. That's after they took all the taxes out. We said, just take all the taxes out.
Which was good.
We're not going to give you like somebody's card and have them bear the responsibility. And then I think we also tipped the person that came around and gave us the cash. And so after that, $30 profit.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking of Shannon, right after that.
Oh my gosh, Shannon had a heck of a weekend.
Yeah, he actually won a big jackpot on a slot.
Right.
They put it on there. So he had a great weekend.
He won a big jackpot on a slot, and he had 2 monster rolls on craps tables.
Oh, that's
when
right.
I were on it.
On the craps table.
Yeah,
so
two very good rolls.
Right after that high limit slot pull, again, we had reserved tables, one for craps and one for blackjack there at Resorts. And we want to thank Eric Rosenthal for setting it up with his host, Michael, at Resorts. Got it all set up for us, and it worked out really well. Don't you think?
It was great. Yeah, Are you kidding me? That was great. And they were real good about the private blackjack table, or craps table, excuse me. When someone came up, they looked at, us.
Like, are they in your
somehow
group?
I got appointed as the boss. And they said, is this person with you? And if they weren't, they just said, politely told them, I'm sorry, this is reserved.
And it was a $25 table, which is pretty steep.
Yes.
But I think they wanted a certain amount of play if they were going to reserve a table for us. But it filled up, didn't it?
It got pretty close to full at one point.
I actually didn't go over there initially because I thought, well, I want people to be able to play. I went and played blackjack.
It wasn't super full. And towards the end, there was only like 4 of us or whatever. But there was enough action. And, I think they were happy with it.
Yeah.
And I was tipping quite a bit. I know they were real happy about the tips.
Oh man, they loved you.
Yeah,
they just couldn't say enough about it. And I eventually came over and we won for that table.
We won for that table. Yeah, it was a good table.
Well, something sort of bizarre happened while we were at that table. So we were on one side of the table, and Alton was there, and his wife Sarah, and also Mikey and Sonia, who are recently engaged. Again, congratulations. They were standing kind of to the right of me. Sarah and Sonia decided they were going to go out to the boardwalk to get a psychic reading.
Yes, because, everybody needs a psychic reading.
Well, in Atlantic City, you got to do it. So they went out and did that. And so
we should say this before we go on. When they came back, they had matching sweatshirts.
And corn dogs. That's right. Apparently, that's what the psychic told them to do.
Psychic said, get some sweatshirts that match, get yourself a corn dog, and head back to the craps table. Which, probably was the right thing to do.
Not bad advice. I've always been a little skeptical with psychics.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that,
I may change my mind on that based on that good advice. Well, anyway, so when they were out getting their psychic reading, Alton and Mikey were standing right next to each other. So this guy comes running up to the table and basically, kind of bear hugs them both at the same time. I don't know what he said, something like, "Hey, how's it going?" Or, he's all excited. And so you and I are thinking, oh, okay, so it's somebody from our group or whatever.
That I didn't know.
What we didn't know at the time is Alton's thinking, oh, this must be a friend of Mikey's. Right. And Mikey's thinking, oh, this must be a friend of Alton's.
Yeah, and that's why nobody said anything.
Initially, nobody said anything. Well, he started being pretty obnoxious and touching.
He was touching Alton.
And finally, when we started talking about it, it's like, no, we don't know this guy. He's just disrupting. So anyway, after the next shooter ended, we all kind of backed away. They called security.
Well, no, remember, it was in the middle of Alton's good roll.
Oh, it was in the middle of the roll.
And he kept touching him. And finally, they asked the guy politely.
Initially,
Boxman said, you need to step back and step away from the table. This is a private group.
Right.
And he refused.
Yeah.
And then she told him again, she said, look, you either step away or I'll have to call security. And you do not want to spend a night in jail over this.
Yeah.
And he did not move, did not budge.
No. But after the roll ended, that's when security started coming over, and basically the game stopped. We kind of all backed away. It was clear this guy was on something. I don't think he was drunk. It might have been something
his eyes
else.
were pretty glazed. He looked like he was on.
But, wouldn't move. Whenever the security would come up to me and say, "Don't touch me," just kind of being real defiant.
Right.
And this, they called the police, and it took a long time for him to just
20 minutes.
walk away. Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, they talked him into leaving. And I heard the security guard say to him, you got to go. And he said, well, he's counting at 1, 2, 3. He's like, there's 6 of you. Does it take all 6 of you to get me out of here? Mm-hmm. And the guy said, look, if you just walk out, I'll walk with you. Just got to leave the casino.
Yeah. We had heard, and I don't know if this was true or not, that this guy had been kicked out earlier in the day.
Well, security guard told me that.
Okay.
So I'm sure it's true. He said he had been kicked out of the casino earlier in the day.
Yeah. So, just really a strange situation. Made us all really uncomfortable, of course. Right. And we're not sure what he's going to, luckily there wasn't any violence or anything, but, it looked like any moment he could be set off. And
and I had a lot of chips on the table. I kept thinking, if he starts a fight and there's a big thing, I can't pick up all my chips. You'd
have to just lay down on top of them, right? Like
I'm laying on
like you passed out.
Right.
Yeah. So then after that fiasco, we played a little bit longer and then decided, okay, we're good, and we cashed out. And we'd been playing with Joe. Oh, and also, Joe, I should have tried to contact you on Twitter. We got an email from you, and I tried to respond. But again, there are 2 ways to reach us via email. You can just email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Or if you go to our website, there's a contact page where you go there and you kind of fill everything out. And one of the fields that you fill out is your email address. And if you type that in wrong, well, we can't respond to you. And I think, Joe, that's what happened. I think you typed your email address on because I responded to your email and it kicked back. So anyway, that's why you haven't gotten a response for it. But anyway.
So email us back or get a hold of Mark on Twitter.
Or something. So, but anyway, Joe had said, hey, let's check to see if we've earned any comps on this. They had those machines, little kiosks around. So we ran our cards in there. Mike, how much had you earned?
$990 something, like almost $1,000
for an afternoon of play. Maybe you played for 3 hours, 4 hours, maybe something
3 or
like
4
that.
hours.
Almost $1,000 in comps.
In comps. Now we had signed up new, so there might have been some bonus thing.
Well, I think it was a multiplier day too that we weren't aware of.
Right.
But luckily we had signed up for this card, and I ran my card and I had like 200 some bucks on there.
Yeah. It was crazy.
It really was. So we decided, well, what will...
It's a curse, actually. Because I'm thinking, how am I going to spend $1,000?
Right.
And then Joe's like, you're going to buy a lot of sweatshirts.
Well, we decided what we'd do. We're going to Hard Rock after that because there was going to be a meetup at Hard Rock, which is right next door to Resort. So we decided, well, okay, what we're going to do is after we're done with Hard Rock, we don't want to get all our stuff now and then lug it around. After we're done at Hard Rock, we'll come back to Resorts, we'll buy all that stuff, and then we'll be able to hop in an Uber and go back to Caesars, right?
Right.
Anyway, right after that, we go over to Hard Rock. We meet up with everybody. We start with one of the things we're going to do is go to the Asian gaming room. We're going to try some of us are going to try some Pai Gow tiles.
Right.
But until then, we played some craps. You were at one table. I was at another with a group of all Gamblepalooza people. All right, this is not hyperbole. This was the worst run around the table at a craps table I've ever seen as far as immediate 7-outs
right
are concerned.
on your table.
Yes.
My table was not quite that bad, but it was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe and I got wiped out.
Yeah.
It was Joe and I there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just making come bets and I got wiped out,
Right.
It's too bad because I really liked Hard Rock. I
Yes,
liked the
I did
atmosphere.
too.
I liked the way it looked.
I liked the openness.
Yes,
the craps
exactly.
table was very open. There was you weren't crowded up against anything.
A lot of people like to compare Hard Rock with Ocean now, because they both opened up at the same time. And I liked Ocean, but as far as the atmosphere went, I preferred Hard Rock.
Yeah,
I really liked the way
Hard
that
Rock,
was,
yeah.
even though it didn't go well for us. Well, finally, we go over to the Asian gaming area, and they were just opening up a new Pai Gow Tiles table at like 8 o'clock or something. We sat down right when... So it's me and Dave and Vito, and we're sitting there. I'd been playing some on an app on my phone. And, years ago when we were in Atlantic City, Jim from New York helped us out too. I probably should have practiced a little bit more or researched a little bit more, because when I'm looking at the tiles, it's like, okay, I kind of know what to do, but I'm not
really.
and I'm having to ask the dealer, is this a pair? Because some of the pairs don't look like pairs.
Right.
Yeah, this is a pair. And I think I played it wrong. We didn't play very long. Yeah. But apparently Terry had been there like earlier in the day, and he was just cleaning up.
Really?
Yeah, or he was enjoying himself anyway.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the Hard Rock, again, like the facility, but, as
the
far as
gambling didn't go that well.
no,
Although they did give us $100 free play
that's
sign
right.
up.
Yeah, that is true.
And
You're
that
right,
was
yeah.
nice, the $100.
That was good.
Yeah.
We just played that on video
Video
poker.
poker got a little bit of our money back.
Yeah. So-
a very little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so our big plan, we walked back over to Resorts to buy all this stuff.
Right.
Now,
but before we went back to Caesars, we wanted to get our stuff last thing.
Yes.
So we didn't have to haul all this crap around.
right. So we just, and that's exactly. So I called up Sherry and said, what do we want? And I looked at the gift shop. I'm thinking I'm going to get all gift shop stuff. And I'm thinking, what I'm going to get? I'll get a few T-shirts, for the kids and Sherry and everything. And then I'm just going to load up on Advil and AA batteries.
AA battery. They're thinking, what the hell's this guy doing in his room?
Because we can always use Advil and we can always use AA batteries. The kid, just for controllers, video game controllers, we're always going through AA batteries.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's true.
So that's what I did. I just loaded up on all that $200 worth.
Yeah, and then we spent 3 hours in security at the airport trying to explain all the Advil and AA batteries. That's what I told him was going to happen. It didn't happen.
No.
But
Now, meanwhile, you went next door to the gift shop. What was the
well,
name
they
of
had
that store?
a regular gift shop which had sundries and stuff like
Right,
that, and T-shirts and everything. Then they had a fancier place next door that sold like clothing and luggage and
yeah.
stuff. So I bought two Riani. One was like a carry-on satchel, and one was like a rolling suitcase
okay, right.
for my wife, and also a purse and a wallet for my wife, and some stuff for the girls. I can't remember, sweatshirts and.
So,
things
are
like that.
you thinking, well, how am I going to get this all
Yeah,
on the
I'm thinking
plane,
I
right?
can't get this home, and the lady she just looks at me. Well, we'll send it to you.
Nice.
So they
you
did.
just
It
shipped
took 1 week exactly.
Oh, good. And you already have gotten all that stuff.
got it
I know
all.
you were freaking out the other day. Is this stuff going to come or not? I have no idea how to check on it. Okay.
Well,
good.
she said Pony Express, and I thought Pony Express. Yeah, it came, and it was great. My wife actually loved it all.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then we ordered an Uber to go back to Caesars. Now,
Wait.
Those of you who
You
know
ordered
me
an Uber.
know that I'm very meticulous in what I do. And in fact, I have to be very detail oriented for my job. It
Right.
definitely helps.
Yeah,
with
with your job,
I'm
it definitely helps.
So I get on the Uber app and I go ahead and order the Uber, and we're waiting for it. And I'm looking at Mike. Oh, it's going to be here in 2 minutes. Oh, it's going to be here in 1 minute. Oh, it's here.
And
we're looking and there's nothing there, right? And I'm looking and it says it's here. And I realized what I had done was I said, pick us up at Hard Rock. Because that, in my mind, I'm thinking that's the last place we're going to be at the night is Hard Rock. But we're back at Resorts.
That's right.
So I'm frantically trying to correct it on the phone, right? Oh, can I switch it? Can I switch it? And the driver calls. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. We're actually over here at Resorts. And he was very nice. He said, okay, I'll come get you.
He was super nice guy.
Yeah. So he drives over to us, picks us up. I'm so sorry. Thanks for getting us. Now, it should say, you're taking us to Caesars, right? And he looks at his phone and says, no, it says here you're going to Resorts, which is where we were.
Yeah, take us to where we are, please.
So what I had done, trying to change the origin location.
You changed the destination.
I changed the destination. So we're going, all right, here we are. Like, thanks for...
And he's in the back seat apologizing profusely to the driver.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, don't be so hard on yourself. You're really, really drunk. And I can see the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror just like get as big as a plate. Like, oh my God, they're going to throw up everywhere.
And I hadn't had a drink all day.
Yeah. And Mark's like, real quick, no, I'm not drunk. I haven't had a drink. And the guy like looked relieved, like, oh, thank God. Like, oh, they're going to throw up all over.
He was really, really nice and understanding about it and took us to Caesars.
Yes.
And so we were okay. Yeah. All right. Well, the next morning we are getting ready. It's our last day there.
Monday.
And we're trying to decide, well, how should we deal with our bags? You know, we have to check out. And as it turned out, you were able to get your room for an additional night.
Right.
Comped.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to stay, but at least we could keep our bags
We
in
didn't
there.
have to move anything.
One thing that was nice, we had adjoining rooms. We had not asked for it, but
The
when
host
we
had set
checked
us
in,
up that way.
they had set us up that way. So that was really nice. So we're not used to that. And I'm saying, Mike, here, I'm going to bring my bags over to your room. We'll keep them over there. And initially I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to walk out, the front door and then go over to yours. And I'm thinking, oh, we've got adjoining rooms. Let's just open those doors between and I'll bring my bags over.
Right. I think you can see where this is going.
So I'm very meticulous in everything that I do. Very detail oriented.
Very detailed.
So I bring my bags over. And we've unlocked the doors on both sides, but the doors have springs on them so that they close automatically. So I get over to Mike's room and the door closes behind me. Click, and there's no knob.
Right.
There's nothing to turn. You can't open it from that side.
Right.
So I turn to Mike and say, my wallet is still over in the other room.
He didn't have his wallet
I don't
in his
have
pants.
my key. Right. So it's like, so
I forget you were wearing pants. Right?
I did have pants.
Right.
My wallet just wasn't in my pants at that time.
All right.
So I'm thinking, great, I don't even have an ID to show who I am. But, luckily you have an ID and they know that we're in adjoining rooms.
Right.
So we go down to the front desk. And we explain to the woman what's going on, right?
She was very nice.
You show
too.
she was kind of funny about how do I know it's you? But she asked me a couple of questions, and she gave me another key to use. So I go back upstairs and I put the key in, and it doesn't work on my door. Oh God. So I walk back down, she sees me coming. I say, hey, look, the key is not working. So she says, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to completely cancel your original key and issue you new keys. So your old keys won't work at all. And I'm going to give you 3 of them just to make sure. Right? Say, okay, good. And if there's a problem with one of them, at least I've got 2 more. So I go upstairs, put the first key in, and it doesn't work. Put the second key in, it doesn't work. Third key in, it doesn't work. And I'm thinking, oh God, I've got to go down. And then
face that woman
it
again.
occurs to me what's going on is, it's not just my door is locked. I had turned that little latch.
Yeah,
like the do not
latch.
disturb latch on it. Now, it wasn't one of those big metal ones that it's virtually impossible to open the door. It was sort of like a magnetic one by the door.
Right.
But that's why it's not working.
Right.
So I go back down again, and I say,
that woman's probably looking at you coming thinking, what are they
pulling on me?
Yeah,
what's really going on?
What's really going on here?
I explained
some kind of bait and switch thing.
I had turned that latch. So in some ways, I feel good because even if I had my key in my pants,
it still wouldn't have worked.
I still wouldn't have been able to get into the room. So she says, I'll call a locksmith. I'm thinking, a locksmith? Oh my God.
Yeah, he's coming from Jersey.
So I go up. I'm thinking, how long am I going to wait? It actually was very good. He was there right away. He had a special key that he puts in and opens it up. And so that was it. So at least I stopped panicking on that last
They didn't
day.
have to tear the door down to get in the room.
Oh my gosh. So that was kind of the last day. We played some craps. It really went very poorly.
It went poorly
on that last day. So
that last day was particularly annoying.
Yeah.
Because we had so many issues. The only thing that was good is at the end of playing, it was getting so bad, we decided to go get something to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because normally we just play and we would have eaten at the airport or on the plane or something. Right. But we decided we better stop and get something to eat. So a group of us went to eat.
Yep. And we ended up at the buffet there. And there were some interesting buffet issues there. So it was you and I and Gina and James and John and Dave.
Right.
Were there, right? The first thing, Gina noticed that there is a bird in the buffet, a live bird.
Yeah, little wren.
Just jumping around, flying around.
Little brown wren.
So, right away, that's kind of gross, you know, flying around bird. Yeah. But the buffet was pretty good. And there was one thing in particular that I really liked. When it was time for dessert, I went over. They had a bunch of frozen yogurt stations, you know, which is kind of nice, a bunch of different flavors.
Yeah, you lied to me about that.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You told me that strawberry and there wasn't.
Yeah.
It was
It was a deliberate lie, just so that when you got over there,
I love strawberry, and it was strawberry sorbet. It was strawberry sorbet and not strawberry
Sorry
yogurt.
about that. All I saw was strawberry. But the final station, it said vanilla milkshake.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking, well, is that a flavor? Or is it really, milkshake?
It was really a milkshake.
Yeah, I looked at the machine was a little bit different. So I put it in they didn't have like proper cups right there. So I kind of put it in a bowl and came back. Look, Mike, milkshake.
Yeah, in a bowl.
I went later and actually got I went later and actually got a cup and had it. And then you decided you were going to go get a milkshake.
Well, I'd eaten several other desserts, and I thought, I'm going to try some of that vanilla milkshake.
Yeah, you sure did. So you come back to the table with vanilla milkshake on a plate. You had gotten a regular plate,
a food plate, a large food
poured
plate,
vanilla milkshake on it. It was eating it with a spoon.
You ate it out of a bowl.
So I think that cleared the table. Basically, they said, "Okay, we're done." And that was
a plate of milkshake.
That was basically our trip. So.
Yeah, and then we headed from there to the airport. I think we went.
And that was it. Yeah. And you fell asleep on the limo ride to the airport. I got a nice picture of that.
A picture of me while I was sleeping.
One thing we forgot to mention too: at the craps tables there were plenty of fire bets and all small tall at a lot of the casinos. And the nice thing about the all small tall, it was the old better payouts.
Right. I was
the higher payouts, right? 175 for one and 35 for one, I think it was. Right. So that was very nice.
That was great. Yeah.
Even though it only hit
once. And guess who rolled it?
Shannon?
Shannon.
Nice.
Yeah. That guy was on fire.
Yeah, that was great. But that was our trip. We had a very good time. Good to see everybody again, and listen to all the other podcasts. You'll get a different perspective on everything that happened on the trip. And our next trip now is 360 Vegas Vacation 8. So
I think that time from like Saturday morning to mid-Sunday was just, I had so much fun. I mean, the food was good everywhere we went, and we were, laughing and goofing around with everybody.
It's always so good to see everybody. And, we'd love to mention everybody's name, but I know we'd leave people out.
Yeah.
So,
No, I won't even try because I forget, that somebody's with us for a long time. I tend to forget, which not on purpose. I just,
no, of course,
my memory, I can't remember half the people I know.
No, I know. Well, you see so many people at your job too.
Yes,
so that's
I go through tons of people.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move on to our voicemail hotline segment. Remember, call our hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
And maybe we'll play your clip on the show. And also, if you want to just send us an audio file. I know one of the things we kind of struggle with is getting the audio on the calls to a good state. Sometimes, I do all I can, but sometimes it's just the fact that it's a cell phone and, calling in.
And someone's in a car.
Yeah, there's just so much we can do. But if you're able to send an audio file, absolutely do that. In fact, you'll hear a couple audio files from Professor Slots and Todd Goddess here coming up here in a few minutes. But first off, let's start with Skylar.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Skylar from Garden Grove with the trip report. I went to SoCal Harrah's, played a little craps there. It was my first time playing craps with dice and with cards and dice together. Thought that was very interesting. I actually bought in with $300 and came up $690. I didn't realize how close actually SoCal Harrah's was for me. So it was pretty nice. Nice little drive, an hour and a half away. Something that was interesting is I went with my dad. He's been playing craps for a long time. He actually came in after a big hot roll off two rollers rolled back to back 4-point fire bets, and they were each one away. I've never played fire bet before. I've played the all tall, all small before, but never fire bet. And man, I was so close. I had $5 on it each time. The dealers knew your guys' names, which was great. Mentioned you guys. But I had one question, was about the total rewards. I understand you guys, I have a lot of experience with that, being high members up with that. But I had a big question about, my dad was gambling around the same amount of time I was at the same craps table. And for some reason, I think he had 200 reward points after we gambled for about 4 hours of craps together. And I actually left with 14 points on the reward system. I don't know if you guys have any information about that, about those total rewards points. But anyway, I love the show, guys. Been listening since episode 140, and just wanted to ask about that. And also, I love playing a 3-point Molly strategy, which is very conservative, a lot like, Mark. But I think Dr. Mike would be proud. I bet a horn bet actually hit. I parlayed hard 10. That hit twice, which was great. So I made a lot of good money. Near the end of why I only profited 390, I was making a little bit more riskier bets to try to hit a yo 11. Didn't really hit. Made a lot of bets for the dealers for the first time. And also learned a lot about tipping from your guys' show. Overall, it was a great experience. And again, I love the show, guys. You guys put out really great content. I love craps, love Pie Gal. I was going to play Pie Gal, but I found out it was a $25 minimum, a little bit more intimidating on my bankroll. But anyway, just want to tune in and give you a little trip report from your guys' home-based casino, and I'll definitely be back. Thanks again for everything, and love the show. We'll keep listening.
We've said it before. Don't be afraid of $25 Pie Gow tables.
Right.
Now, yes, something disastrous could happen.
Sure,
you lose, 5-6 hands in a row.
Right.
But for the most part, with as slow as it is and all the pushes, it's comparable to like a $5 or a $10 blackjack table.
Sure.
As far as the action that you're
Right.
seeing.
Yeah. It's just you're betting more, but there's so many pushes
Right. Yes.
that, a lot of times you're just playing a hand. So money-wise, it's probably going to last you about the same, right? Like you said, if you were you bought in for $100 on a $5 blackjack table, it'd probably be comparable.
Yep.
Plus, come on a weekend on a Friday night, or if it's going to be Saturday, let us know. Maybe we can.
Yeah, usually we're
rearrange.
there on Friday. So, tweeting is basically the best way to get a hold of us. Now, as far as your rating goes, it's always a mystery. But in this case, it sounds like either you were rated wrong or you weren't being rated at all.
Right. Sounds like maybe an error, like they didn't get you in the computer or something, or somebody took you out early, thought maybe you left when another person next to you left.
Yeah, especially
like
our experience at Harrah, Southern California, 14 points. No way.
No,
you should have gotten way more than that. Yeah. All right, let's hear from Ann.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Ann from Oregon calling with a trip report. We just returned from about a week in Vegas, and we like to play at Excalibur. It's our favorite place to play because we can usually find $5 tables there. We got there on the Sunday of the first weekend of March Madness, and we were unable to find $5 craps tables on that day. Everything was 10 or higher. But we came back on Monday and discovered that Excalibur had a crapless craps table for $5, and their regular craps table was at 10. We were a little disappointed by that because, thanks to you all, I understand how the crapsless table works. And I knew I wasn't too excited about playing there, but we really wanted to play, so we decided to step up and give it a shot, but only place the 6 and the 8. I didn't want to end up with my pass line bet on a 2 or an 11. So we played just 6 and 8 and had a good time doing that. Same thing on Tuesday, same table minimums on Tuesday, but Wednesday and Thursday of the week, we were lucky enough to go back and find $5 at the actual regular craps tables. And also, because of what I've learned on your show and wanting to go and have just a little bit more aggressive play, I should say that I usually buy in for $100, play pass line and single odds, and when I'm up, I'll occasionally throw place bets for $6 on the 6 and 8. But this time I had a little more fun with playing the field just because it's fun. I know it's not always the smartest bet, but I do have fun playing it. And I got the confidence to buy the 4. We had a shooter on a pretty hot roll, and he had thrown a bunch of 4s, and so I finally decided, once he set a new point, to jump in and buy the 4, and lo and behold, it hit 5 times.
Nice.
So
That's
made
sweet.
$180 on that $20 bet, and that was pretty exciting. Again, thanks to you guys for giving me the confidence of that. Played the hard ways, 2A 6 quite a bit and 2A 8 quite a bit, thinking about you, Dr. Mike, but it never hit, unfortunately, and we played the all tall small off and on and never saw it hit either. We were there on the Friday of the second weekend of March Madness and went back to the Excalibur to see what we could find. And it was crazy. All week they'd only had 2 tables open, and on this day they had 4 tables open. There was a $5 table, a $10 table. The crapless table was all the way up to $25, and the fourth table was either 5 or 10. I can't remember, but I thought it was pretty crazy that the crapless table had the highest limit at 25, and there were actually people playing it. Overall, it was a great trip. Definitely had more confidence playing craps and betting a little bit more aggressively on this trip. Again, thanks to you guys, and actually came home up $100. So thanks for the show. Appreciate your conversations each week. And looking forward to the future. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
Thanks, Ann. We constantly hear good things about Excalibur as being a good low roller casino, especially for craps. A lot of times they have a $5 table, and
I like playing there. We should actually, if it wasn't so far off the strip. I mean, so far down on the strip.
Yeah, we usually are at center strip, and so we kind of have to make
because it's easier to walk from place to place.
Yeah.
You're at Excalibur; it's not really easy to walk anywhere.
If we get down that way anytime soon, we should hit all those places where we don't normally play: New York, Excalibur, Luxor, all those places.
Right.
Yeah, MGM. So maybe next time.
And I find it funny that there are 3 tables at $5 or $10, and then the crapless craps is
that is
$25.
weird.
That is very weird. I mean, what boss decided that?
I know. Well, but if people are playing, I guess okay.
Yeah, I guess if they want to play, if they want to have 25 on the line with 75 odds and have
and the points two,
yeah.
Well, maybe there was a big player there and say, hey, can we bump this up to 25 here?
Maybe.
All right, yeah. All right, next call.
Hi, my name is Steven. I'm calling from Virginia. Just found your podcast. Absolutely love it, as I'm a recreational gambler myself. I actually would like some feedback on the betting method that I use when I play, because I've had certain people tell me that it was okay, others tell me it wasn't, and I'd like someone else's opinion that's been doing this a long time to give me some advice. So here's how I do it. I play only a $5 table if I can find it. The first thing I do is I bet $10 pass line and a $5 world bet. If I lose the pass line on the come-out roll, I take my winnings from the world, replace my bet, and bank whatever's left over. Once the point is set, I bet the 6 and 8 if it's not the point. When it hits, I bank the money the first time, and then if it hits again, I use that money to make my other bet, starting from the 5, 9, 4, 10, and so on. And I will bank and press as much as I can as long as I have a decent shooter. I'm just curious on what y'all think of that style. Again, I've been doing it for a while. I'm comfortable with it, but I don't know if I'm leaving anything on the table or giving too much of my bankroll towards playing. When I go, I'm not going to lie, I'm a small bankroll player. I normally bet somewhere around $400 to $500 is what I take with me, and that's what I buy in for. But anyway, if you can give me your opinion, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys, and keep up the good podcast.
So, Stephen, we as craps players are playing a negative EV game. In the long run, we're all going to lose at craps. So there's no system that's going to help you win. You said, I'm comfortable with it. The way that you play, you're comfortable with it. To me, that's the most important thing.
Right.
Nobody's going to be able to tell you, hey, you're doing this wrong. You're going to make more money this way.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah, it's not. The only thing I would say, and then Mike, I want to hear your opinion, is that, I stay away from those high house edge bets. I don't make horn bets. Terrible house edge on that.
Right.
You're talking about starting with the 6 and 8 and then moving out to the 5 and 9 and the 4 and 10. The 5 and 9 and 4 and 10 also really high house edges. So I would stay away from that. But if you're enjoying the way you're playing, you just have to ignore these people telling you you're doing it wrong and have fun.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I actually like his system because, a 7 comes up on the come out. He wins his pass line. The world's a push. Mm-hmm. If any of the craps numbers comes up, he replaces his pass line. He's kind of hedging his pass line a little bit.
Right.
If a point's established, he loses his world, but he takes 6 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then he expands from there. So he's limiting his liability on an immediate out.
Okay, right.
Which is
I see
good,
that, sure. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then he's limiting his liability as he goes, because if he hits one number, a 6, and let's say takes a 5, then he still doesn't have all the numbers. It's not like he went across. Yeah. So he's limiting his liability, but he's being aggressive enough to get more numbers. Mm-hmm. So if he gets a monster roll, he's going to win money.
He's going to do okay, yeah.
And if he gets an immediate out, he's not going to lose that much. So to me, that's the best possible scenario, as long as that makes you happy. Now, me, I'm too antsy to like just take the 6 and 8 and spread from there.
The last time you and I drove up to the casino, we just started talking about how a lot of times listeners will contact us with systems and ask us what we think. And whereas sometimes we might think, well, I wouldn't like playing that way. That's the most that we can say. Is it a bad system? No. Because you can't beat the game. And if you're having fun, that's the most important thing.
The only way I can tell you if it's a good system or a bad system is if you tell me the rolls first.
That's right.
And then I can tell you exactly what you should have done.
Yeah, if you have a system, let us know what the rolls are. We'll tell you exactly how you should have bet. Okay, this roll, you should have hopped the 2-4.
Yeah, right.
The next roll, you should have hopped the 2-6.
I mean, it's easy in retrospect to say, that worked or that didn't work.
Yeah.
But before the game starts, it's like, what did the dealer say the last time we were out there? It's always best to bet the numbers before they come up.
Yeah, something to that effect was,
Right?
Bet them before they roll.
Bet them before they roll.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Because somebody had, a 9 had come up and then give me the 9.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, it's always best to bet them before they roll.
That was what it was, yeah.
He's trying to be funny, but in reality, that is the truth,
Yeah,
right?
If you don't bet it, they can't pay you.
Yeah, if you knew the rolls. On the exact same table, there was a guy that said, I never win 2 11s in a row.
Uh-huh.
And the reason is because he wins one and he takes it down.
He never bets it twice.
He never bets it twice in a row. So he's probably never going to win it twice in a row.
Okay, next call.
Hey guys, first time caller. My name's Edward Balvin. I'm here in Vegas. Yesterday went to play craps with one of my old bosses. We played in downtown, and luckily there was a all small, all tall, and make it all. So placed 5 on each one, and then rolling for at least 15, 20 minutes waiting. Like I had 3 numbers left. It was the 2, the 10, and then the 12. Then all of a sudden, more people were coming, and then someone cashed in the middle of my roll. I was like, I'm not sure it might crap out. But luckily, when I rolled it, I got the 2, and then right afterwards, I hit the 12, and then should I hedge the bet? Talking to dealers about it real quick, and I said I decided not to, but my boss did. She hedged it, and then I bet $5 on a hop 10, and then added more for the field bet I did, and then hit the 10. So I came up with extra $900, and I started with 300, so won additional 1,200 in total. So just want to say about my winnings, and hopefully I can do that again. Have a great day.
Yeah, the all small tall is fun. I never bet it, but you had a lot of fun doing it here at Gamblepalooza. When you get close, and you're just looking at those numbers you need.
It's so tense. And I think one time it might have been you rolling when you hit the small the first day. I think we hit the small twice, and Shannon hit the all tall, all small, hit them all.
Yeah.
But that first time, I think we hit the small, and we just needed an 8 or a 9. Or
yeah, it's
something.
always frustrating when it's those easy numbers.
The easy number, right? It was like, come on, and then we didn't hit it.
Yeah. All right, let's listen to this next call. You and I have already listened to it a couple times. I'm not sure exactly what he's asking here, but let's take a listen.
Hi, Mark, Dr. Mike. Big fan of the podcast. So I'm kind of a hobbyist gambler myself. I don't do it a ton just because it's not really available in my area. But what I kind of wanted to ask you guys about, I'm currently a graduate student in applied economics. And so I'm interested particularly in looking at the games from an economic perspective, right? We tend to see them modeled frequently mathematically from a pure probabilistic standpoint. But I'm kind of casting about for a thesis topic right now. And I've been sort of interested in looking at stuff like poker. I've seen the adjusted odds methodology. We're all fairly familiar with the strategy guides that have been written about blackjack. I'm curious as to if you had any thoughts, have you read any, literature or anything on the topic yourselves? What games do you think are particularly promising? Do you think there's value in it, or do you think it's kind of a waste of time? Basically, would just sort of love your thoughts on the topic. Any recommendations you had, maybe games that look promising or anything like that. Thanks, I appreciate it.
So again, I'm not exactly sure what the listener is asking here.
Well, I think he wants to know about writing a thesis on
the economics of a game.
Okay. And I think the only one that you could really do that with would be poker.
Right.
And even that is going to be a little tricky because there's more to poker than just
the math. Well,
right.
I mean, like economics, right?
Right.
So maybe you're right. Maybe, poker really is the answer because the other games, it is pretty much just math.
It is pretty much just math. And in the long run, if you looked over 100 years of playing blackjack, I mean, the house is going to win a certain amount and you're going to, lose a certain amount. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Even if you include counting, again, it all just comes down to math.
It all just comes down to math and factoring in, a little bit of luck. In the short run, you can win. But in the long run, if you're looking at an economic model over a period of time, the only one that probably is a little more interesting and maybe a positive EV game would be poker. Right. And that would depend on how well a poker player you are.
Right.
It's how do you figure in bluffing and
that's the thing, right? Like economics, it's not
reading,
just math,
and
right?
reading
There's
somebody.
Some psychology
There's
to
some
it,
psychology to it too.
Yeah. So hopefully we answered your question, or Mike did anyway.
Yeah, and see if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, that would be an interesting thesis to me.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if the panel judging his thesis would be interested in that.
Yeah,
but
if it's well written, I'm sure they would be.
Yeah, if it's and it would be an applied economics thing.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Brandon.
Yeah, hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. Brandon here from Colorado. Good to talk to you guys again. Thanks for the podcast, as always. Keeps providing me entertainment on my commute back and forth to Los Angeles. So, hey, so my wife and I were out in Vegas a week ago doing a bit of job change celebrating. Stayed at the Bellagio like we always do. Gambling was up and down. Wife played slots. I played craps. And had two interesting things happen to me at the table that I wanted to ask you about. One was there was a player next to the stick man. He was past the dice, and he proceeded to turn his back to the wall and throw the dice behind his back. I'd never seen anyone throw the dice before like that. And I'm not really a superstitious person at the table, but something about that felt really, really, really wrong. So I took all my bets down, and I was really glad that I did, because after 4 rolls, he sevened out. Wondering if you guys had ever seen anyone throw the dice like that before. And then the second thing is, you had a caller a couple podcasts ago talk about a guy who refused to give up his spot at the table, and that led to a discussion about getting as many people around the table as possible. So at this table that I was playing at, there was a younger guy that came up to the table with his girlfriend who wasn't playing. She was standing behind him at first, but shouldered her way onto the rail and crammed those of us that were playing. It made it really, really, really uncomfortable, standing shoulder to shoulder for somebody that wasn't playing. And I was wondering, what's the etiquette here? Are we allowed to say something to the pit boss or the stick man and say, this person isn't playing, we need the room? Again, something I've never really encountered before. But anyway, thanks a lot again, fellas, and take care.
Yeah, as far as that goes, how well do you handle conflict?
Right.
Because there's going to be conflict there. Do you say something to her? Do you say something to the pit or one of the dealers? Somebody's going to be upset. So,
right.
Yeah, it's
for us, I guess for me, it would depend on where I'm at and how uncomfortable I am.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm at Harrah, Southern California, and somebody does that, I'd just look at the pit and shake my head and say, look over there.
Yeah.
And they would probably squeeze them out.
You've got some clout there. I mean,
right.
There's no
but
question.
If I was someplace else, I probably wouldn't say anything.
Yeah. So, it's just like any other social situation where there might be some awkwardness, or you just have to, are you willing to?
It's kind of sad, though, that somebody would do that.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, because they had to be uncomfortable, too, with them crowding in there, right? I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah. As far as somebody throwing behind their back, I think we did talk about that a few episodes ago, where that high roller was doing it.
Yeah, that
at
one
Mirage,
story.
And they let him do it because he had so much money.
He had a ton of money, and they were okay until he hit a pit boss.
Yeah.
He actually didn't throw him the right way. He threw him kind of sideways, hit the pit boss in the head.
Yeah,
so at that point, they stopped that real quick. Yeah. It's just another stupid thing.
Yeah, sure it is.
It's just as stupid as the person crowding in there. I mean, why do that?
Yeah, I guess it's as stupid as somebody holding a hot chocolate over their head. Maybe it's just
that only hurts that person, though.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's true. All right, as promised, here is Professor Slots.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's John Friedel from Professor Slots. You're at Gamblepalooza when I'm making this call. I hope that's going well and you're having a great time. I couldn't make it this year, but look forward to hearing all about it on one of your upcoming episodes. On your last episode from the end of March, you mentioned how inconvenient it is when the video poker card you try to select isn't what's chosen by the machine. As Dr. Mike put it, the screen registry is off. This can also happen when using the digital keypad on the player's card interface. There, it can happen repeatedly. I found this irritating, so as usual, I figured it out. And there's an easy solution. Briefly, these screens are using conductive technology. The skin of our fingertips is slightly conductive, which can be a little inconsistent as it has to do with their moistness. Further, these screens already have a lot of fingerprints on them, which also isn't very consistent. What all this means is conductivity is flowing all over the place on the screen, so its registry is off. There are 3 solutions, but one is simplest. First, you could clean the screen. That'd help. Second, you could repeatedly lick your fingertips before touching the screen. Yuck. Or simply use a bit of metal to touch a screen, such as a ring or a key or even the metal clip or tip of a pen. So, for instance, if a player interface touchscreen is giving you trouble with entering your PIN, try using the tip of a key to touch the numbers you want. Works every time. For video poker, perhaps always use something metallic to touch the screen. It might perhaps be an unwanted change of habit, but that's your solution if it happens too often. Safe travels. Bye.
Good. Yeah. Thanks, John.
Yeah, that's a good advice.
We have struggled, I'm sure. I know you have too.
Yes.
Just trying to enter your PIN. All you want to do is access your account.
Right.
And, you hit the wrong thing or then you get locked out. So,
well, I'm going to use one of my keys. I'll just pull one of my keys
usually,
out.
almost everybody has a key on them they can
Yeah,
do. So,
that's good
if you have a
advice.
problem, yeah.
I mean, and my second choice would be lick my finger a lot.
Yeah, sure. You have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Why don't you just lick the screen and then it's already pre-moistened and then you just, put your finger on there.
Or just take a drink and pour it all over the screen. There's lots of moisture
All
here
good
now.
ideas. All right, let's hear from our buddy Tony Snyder.
Mark, Dr. Mike, it's Tony from Vice Lounge here. I got a question for you. So we've been debating this, and I'd love to get your insight on it. If point is 6, will you place the 8? Or if point is 5, will you place the 9? My philosophy is if I have a statistical same of hitting a different number as is my point, why not at least place that bet for the purposes of ensuring that if I'm going to thread that needle, I'm going to at least benefit from it. I know that may be a stupid bet, particularly if point is 4 and I'm placing the 10, but I'd love to get your thoughts on that. So, love the podcast. Thanks so much, guys. Looking forward to seeing you in May. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we'll see you in May. Tony and Jason have been talking a couple of recent episodes. On one episode, they talked about good craps bets, and on another episode, they talked about bad craps bets. And this topic actually came up when they were talking about it. Yeah.
Well, Tony, it's all whenever the point's a 4, the next roll is going to be 10. So placing the 10 is a wonderful idea.
It's so popular to kind of place that mirror image that there's actually a term for it. The place side is the reverse image of whatever the point is. So if the point is 5, the place side, what they call the place side, is 9.
Right.
If the point is 8, the place side is 6. They actually encourage you to do it.
Right. Well, it's funny because I'm sure it's just in our head, just like, the dice going off the table and 7 comes up.
Yep.
The stake change and 7 comes up. And the point's 4. And of course, 10's going to come up, before a 4, right?
What it comes down to is if symmetry is important to your psyche.
Who doesn't?
Then go ahead and do it. But there's no mathematical basis for doing this, right? It would only be, I've got the 5, I really should have the 9 to keep things symmetrical.
Right.
So
just like everything in the universe, it's symmetrical. There's the yin and the yang, Mark.
Yeah, there you go.
Just like your body, it's symmetrical on both sides, right?
For the most part, yeah. I think my heart is only on one side, but
and your boobs are a little off.
Yeah, that's true too. All right, next up, Todd Goddess.
Hey, Eminem. Amanda and I were in Vegas over Sweet 16 weekend. We went to a new place this time, the South Point. It's a bit of a haul, but the gambling there was great. Tons of full-pay video poker machines at the quarter level. Amanda and I both came out ahead on video poker there. All their blackjack pays 3-2. I won a little bit at a $5 table. They also had a couple of $5 craps tables, only 2 times odds though. I didn't end up playing craps there because the video poker was so good. It was like finding a unicorn. We couldn't let it go and had to keep playing those good machines. Face Up Pygao seems to have taken over all the M Life properties. I didn't see any limits lower than $25, however. I did play one table and got up $100 pretty quickly and bailed. Still not quite comfortable being a green chipper. That leads me to my question. Any tips for moving up from a $5 to a $10 or $15 craps table? Maybe take bets down quicker when they win. I'm not really a big fan of hedging, but maybe the occasional don't come bet. Love the show. Looking forward to seeing you at Vegas Vacation 8. Thanks.
Todd, what he likes to do usually is place the 6 and 8 and either take them down when they hit or maybe reduce them. If he starts with $12 on each and one of them hits, he goes down to 6, something like that. I think if he were going to move up to, say, a $15 table, maybe 18 each on the 6 and 8, and if one of them hits, just take them completely down.
Well, that's no fun in a long roll.
Well,
though.
but I've seen the way Todd plays too, and he's very conservative. He's very disciplined that way. So that might be something that would work for him. Also, if Todd, you're willing to play the don't, say at a $15 table, maybe make a don't pass and 2 don't come bets with no odds, just $15 on each.
Yeah.
And wait to see what happens. And if maybe one of those repeats for a single shooter, just don't make any more bets. If he makes a don't pass and it goes up on a 6 and a 6 comes right back, just don't make any more bets for that shooter just to, be conservative. Those would be my suggestions.
This might be a little risky.
Okay.
But I would suggest making $30 6, $30 8. One of them hits, go down to 18 on each of them.
Okay, yeah. The problem is...
And then if one of those hits, maybe press it up $6.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to go. But the problem is that immediate 7 out, suddenly $60, and how do you recover from that?
The immediate
right?
7 out hurts you. Well, the next roll, if somebody makes 1 6, then you've won $35, and you're going to put out only 36.
Yeah.
So you're down $1. And if they hit a couple more numbers, just leave them at 18. And if a couple of them hit, you've made up the money you lost at the table before.
It's funny because I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because that is the way that I've been playing lately.
That is the way you
kind
play.
Kind of reducing like that, yeah. It's funny he's talking about face-up Pai Gow poker. I didn't see any face-up Pai Gow in Atlantic City anywhere. If it was there, I didn't see
No,
nothing.
I didn't see it. No.
Yeah, and I was ready to play, but I ended up just playing regular Pai Gow poker. And of course, South Point, we always hear great things about video poker at South Point. They talk about it all the time on Gambling with an Edge. Well, South Point's one of their sponsors. But at the same time, it sounds like that really is a good place if you want to play some video poker. Mike, you kind of looked at me. You were looking at these show notes here. We've got a ton more calls.
Right.
And we're past an hour here, and it's getting kind of late. How about this? How about we do a bonus episode next week where all we do is go through phone calls.
We just get all caught up
on everything.
All right, I'm for that.
Okay, so we'll have a bonus episode next week, and then we'll still have another episode, a regular episode, the following week.
So there'll be 3 weeks in a row. You can bet on that.
In a row.
Prepare your stomachs.
One thing I will say, we did get a call from one listener. He called in about a game he plays at his poker home game called 727. And we're not going to play that call because we actually talked about that game way back on episode 29 of our show, our first anniversary episode.
Nice.
We talked about 727. It is a very fun game to play. It's not technically poker, but when you play it, you certainly use certain poker concepts as far as betting and bluffing and raising and that kind of thing.
It's a great home game.
Yeah.
So it's very fun at home.
Play it
with
all
your
the time.
Friends.
Yeah. So go back and listen to episode 29 if you want to hear a little bit more about 727. Also, I was going to say, hey, we're not going to have an episode before the Kentucky Derby, but if we do one next week, we actually will. Just before the Kentucky Derby, so that's coming up. I haven't even looked at any of the horses.
We'll handicap the whole thing for you. We'll give you the first 8 places.
Okay, sure.
First 8.
Yeah, so you can not just a trifecta, not just a superfecta.
The mega super duper fecta.
That's right. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. We do want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, recurring donations from Nathan, from Brian Dancer, from Brian and Sarah, and from Joshua. We sure appreciate those recurring donations. Thanks very much. Also, a donation from Vegas Bound 13, a karma donation for an upcoming 5-night trip to Vegas. Thanks for all that you do to entertain us throughout the year. Again, that's Vegas Bound 13 on Twitter. And also from Michael James, he says, as I write this, your San Diego Sockers and my Milwaukee Wave are in the Final Four of the Major Arena Soccer League. If both make the finals, it will be in San Diego. One of you two can go to the game on me. Enjoy. Yeah, and in fact, this Sunday, San Diego plays Monterey and Milwaukee plays Baltimore, so they could meet in the finals.
They could meet in the finals, yeah.
Hey, be sure to check out all the TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program that searches through all the raw American TV data. Just go to youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at Facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review on us. We love getting your feedback. Dr. Mike.
We heard from 2 listeners, one that was in Vegas for a week and one for 5 days.
Yes.
God, if we stayed there, I'll tell you what, though, when I turned 70.
All right. Was that a couple years?
Yeah, a couple years.
All right. Yeah.
Let's go to Vegas for like our longest trip ever, which would be like 3.5 days.
3.5 days, you're insane. If we
should do that.
All right. If we were to go for a longer trip, which I agree, our heads would explode. Please, let's take our wives.
Yes.
So that we're not just
Well, that's why I'm saying we go when I'm 70.
Okay.
So hopefully we're both retired.
Okay. Yes. All right.
And maybe we'll probably both still be working, but maybe we're both retired and we go for like 4 or 5 days, and we'll go like in fall or spring when we can sit by the pool, because I think people really want to see us sitting by the pool at 70 years old.
I'm sure they do. Please take your shirt off. Please. I know you love wearing those superhero shirts. Please take your shirt off.
That might be the first time ever.
Anything else?
No, Padres are doing great. I got to mention that. I got to say that.
It is fun to be a Padres fan
for
right
all
now.
you people. But boy, I'll tell you what, I am rooting so hard for the Dodgers.
Yes, I understand.
I don't know that they'll lose another game this year. That is a well-oiled machine, that Dodger blue.
Very good. If you're wondering why Mike's saying that, listen to our last episode. And thanks for listening.
Good night.
Mark, that was wonderful. I had no idea you were so talented. The audience is going to love you.